Okay. It does not matter what Google Maps says. You have to actually go there, or at least call the facility, try to call the facility and talk to someone and confirm. Okay. Google Maps, unfortunately, is not a reliable source of information. What we know, however, is that the sign on the door said open from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Nick was there at 1 p.m. So he wasn't even there while it was open. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see where this goes as far as like the anti-Zoran stuff. But state commissioner responds to viral YouTube video about the Somali daycare fraud in Minneapolis. There are some inconsistencies for the record in there are, don't ban out of things. Okay, great. There are a lot of inconsistencies even with like the way that the state is talking about it, I will admit. Okay. The Somaliopolis story continues. As you guys probably know by now, there is a Mormon YouTuber who used to be like a Mr. Beast style YouTuber that pivoted into right-wing content in the same way that like Tyler Hitler Vera did, to do like nuisance streaming, like nuisance YouTubing, but directionally for right-wing propaganda purposes. He went to Minneapolis, and there was already, for the past like couple of years, there's been an active investigation into welfare fraud and charity fraud that has taken place in Minneapolis. But he went to Minneapolis to go outside of random childcare facilities with the claim that there were no children there and there was like mass fraud taking place, right? And because there is already a pre-existing investigation, and because Donald Trump has been yelling about this for the past month or so, and because the people that they are yelling about happen to be, Black, Muslim, Somali Americans, at a time when obviously tensions are very high towards, non-white people of potential immigrant background. The video popped off, partially boosted by Elon Musk, right? It got like 120 million views on Twitter, even though Twitter views are irrelevant. It got like 2 million views on YouTube. And every single person has been praising it as though it was peak journalism. I think it's very stupid. I feel very discouraged that a lot of people looked at that and thought it was like peak journalism, because there was no journalism whatsoever, especially in an instance where like he could have done journalism, because there is validity to the skepticism as far as some of these childcare facilities. He could have just done literally just a bare minimum amount of research to go to the Department of Human Services website and like actually look at the litany of licensing violations that these places had actually incurred, and asked whether or not these places had actually had their licenses revoked. If not, why they hadn't gotten their licenses revoked. Like that would have been a pretty solid piece of journalism that could have still been right-wing propaganda, right? But he didn't do any of that. He just went outside of childcare facilities and demanded to see the children, right? Demanded to see the kids. Show me your kids. Show me your kids. And he walked out at a time when there's also a lot of tension to begin with around, ICE raids and things of that nature. What sucks for me about the way that, what sucks for me in particular, as someone who tries to educate people on media literacy, tries to get people to do a little bit of critical thinking, was that there's not a lot of critical thinking out there. I think as long as something has an element of truth from pre-established legitimate resources, as long as it leans into existing fears, tribalistic fears that people have about, non-white people or whatever, the Somali people, you don't really need to do any serious journalism whatsoever. You can just like do the dumbest thing possible and go outside of childcare facilities and demand to see the children, which is never going to happen, right? And unfortunately, that's just the media environment that we live in now. And people will immediately go, oh, you just want to defend the Somalis for doing fraud because, I don't know, for reasons, I guess, because you're woke and this is how wokes operate, right? It sucks. But unfortunately, even intelligent people, college-educated people, like all these people would, are still falling for this.
Where are the children? What? Is this a daycare or not?
This is my office where I make news videos.
Did you see the report from Nick Shirley about the Somali daycares in Minnesota?
Yes, he posted a 42-minute video, which I watched so that you don't have to.
He's the only person out here doing real journalism.
Hello, Mr. Vice President. Yes, I saw that you posted that.
Great work, sir.
So, yes, since 2018, more than half of $18 billion in taxpayer funds spent on the 14 programs intended to help low-income, vulnerable people was most likely stolen.
And there it is.
But this has been under investigation for a long time. More than 92 people have been charged.
Well, how come we haven't seen it in the news?
Local and international outlets have been reporting on it for years. This is a Times article from 2022.
But Representative Omar did nothing about this.
That same year, she condemned the fraud that was happening. And in 2019, this article was written about the statewide audit of the fraud. Finally, here's a local article from 2018 that says that Minnesota has been aggressively investigating daycare fraud since 2014.
But what about how they're funneling all the money to terrorists?
Look, there is clearly fraud happening here, but that allegation was made by a police detective from Seattle who retired in 2015 and has never been to Minnesota.
Oh, well, what about the other daycares in the video? I didn't see any kids.
Some of those daycares could have been committing fraud, but would you let a complete stranger flanked by his security team and his camera crew into your daycare to see the children? And I don't know when he filmed this, but my daughter's daycare is closed for the last 2 weeks of December. I'm glad you care about kids, though.
Of course.
Have you seen the latest Epstein file dump from 3 days before Christmas?
No, I don't think so. It's not important.
In new documents, an unnamed victim alleges that both Trump and Epstein raped her, and that Trump traveled on Epstein's plane at least 8 times in the 90s. But last year, he said he was never on Epstein's plane.
You should go check for more daycare fraud. Okay.
Yeah, it's much more likely that the people that were doing this fraud were just not funding terrorism in Somalia, but instead funding their pockets. And there has been investigations in the past into whether or not any sort of like cells in Somalia have received any of the funding, and they've come up with no evidence to suggest that this allegation is even remotely true. There's a lot of misinformation flying around this story, but once again, I mean, that's a pretty basic summary of it, but this has at least caused some of the people in mainstream news to remember that they do have a job, and they should probably address some of the misinformation. State commissioner's response to viral YouTuber video about Somali daycare fraud in Minneapolis.
Tonight, the state is responding to a viral video alleging more fraud in Minnesota, this time daycare fraud. Since it was posted last week, the video has racked up millions of views, even catching the attention of the FBI director. Lou Raguse has the latest on the response from the state.
So this is Quality Learning Center.
A misspelled sign and an apparent lack of anyone inside a licensed child care center in Minneapolis. Just one stop conservative YouTuber Nick Shirley made in a video viewed over 100 million times on X in an effort to expose fraud among Somali.
Yeah, it's like people are not even bringing up the fact that he also brought up the flag, the state flag of Minnesota, and the flag change, and how that was also changed to look more Somali, which is, again, like when you see something like that, you should immediately go, oh, this is ridiculous. Like, this person is maybe not all there. But unfortunately, for a lot of people, because of the unchecked biases that people have, because of a lack of interest in critical thinking in general, they kind of see this, okay? They see this and they go, oh, this makes sense. He's doing good journalism. And they end up unironically believing all the other shit that this dumbass is saying too.
They run child care centers in Minnesota.
You do realize that there's supposed to be 99 children in here at this building, but there's no one here.
While we have questions about some of the methods that were used in the video, we do take the concerns that the video raises about fraud very seriously.
Tiki Brown is the commissioner of the new Minnesota Department of Children, Youth, and Families, which is responsible for paying federal child care assistance to daycares that file claims. She says inspectors went out today to double check that children, in fact, are present. The Federal Department of Homeland Security also was checking those businesses in Minneapolis today. State data Shirley used in his video show those daycares receive millions in taxpayer money.
The inconsistent part about this specific Minneapolis daycare, the Quality Learning Center, I will admit, is that the state claims that the daycare center is actually permanently closed. It's not. Or there were children at that center, and there have been children at that center, obviously, when it was still in operation. And we don't know if the daycare center is currently closed or not. The state says it is, but there were children there as of yesterday, from what I understand. And that part is actually odd. That is actually suspicious to me. Someone who actually cares about, the truth.
There have been ongoing investigations with several of those centers. None of those investigations uncovered findings of fraud.
Brown confirmed that the daycares in Shirley's video have active licenses with the state and continue.
The one with the sign on the door says permanently closed on Google Maps. This is why journalism is important, because it doesn't matter what it says on Google Maps, okay? It does not matter what Google Maps says. You have to actually go there, or at least call the facility, try to call the facility and talk to someone and confirm. Okay, Google Maps, unfortunately, is not a reliable source of information. What we know, however, is that the sign on the door said open from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Nick was there at 1 p.m. So he wasn't even there while it was open. He was there while the place was closed. And before you say, what daycare is open from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., daycares and childcare facilities have different hours for parents that have different needs. Some parents are working until 10 p.m. Some parents need after school care. Okay? I know that it's like I know it's much more comforting to lean into a narrative built around suspicion, but it's usually good to try and figure out like what's actually going on.
Receiving payments. The exception, one that closed years ago, and the misspelled Quality Learning Center, which Brown says permanently closed last week. In a strange contradiction, however, our cameras this afternoon captured dozens of children being dropped off at that daycare. The manager telling us they are legitimate, they are open, and they never have been closed.
Now, I confirmed this afternoon that the State Department of Children, Youth, and Families has a total of 55 open investigations related to the Child Care Assistance Program. And the department tells me that they hope to have more information for me tomorrow about their site visits today. One more thing to add, Carla. The commissioner.
Yeah, they went to all of the facilities now. They went to all the facilities to see if there are children there. And they are, unlike Nick Shirley, actual investigators, licensed auditors. So, yeah, this was an interview with one of the guys who runs the daycare. But again, I saw this, but what's not consistent here is what this guy is saying. Like, I'm not trying to invite suspicion onto him, but if I place a higher order of responsibility or a higher order of veracity and truthfulness to claims being made by the state over claims being made by some random guy on TikTok who I'm not so certain is the manager or not, because I didn't check. I don't know if this guy's the manager of this place. I don't know if he's some random guy standing outside. Like, you need to be a little bit more critical with the information that you're looking at, right? In a situation like this, it's not his word against the state's. You have to take what the auditors are saying more seriously, and there is an inconsistency here. Okay. While the state's own license does say that this daycare is still in operation, this child care place is still in operation, the state has also, a different department within the state, including that person that we just watched, has said that it's not in operation. This is only going to invite more suspicion, okay? Minnesota Department of Children Commissioner Tiki Brown claims the Quality Learning Center closed down last week, which explains why there were no children when Nick Shirley visited. Today, however, the Quality Learning Center was packed with kids. The New York Post reports the children were trucked in, with one local saying it was the first time they had seen kids go into the building. They need to coordinate next time before they try to cover up a crime.
Wow.
Is there fraud going on here? No, it's a video. I just want to know, what's your response?
Get the out of here.
What's your response to the allegations? Is there fraud going on here? And is there children? That's all.
That's awesome. This is definitely a way to conduct an investigation. Thank you. I love that everyone is a journalist now and think that they're a journalist now. And how do they do journalism? Go outside of a place where you suspect a crime is taking place, crime involving children, mind you, and film the children and yell and be a nuisance. This is idiotic.
We are aware of a video that's being circulated that has gained local and national attention about child care centers in Minnesota. While we have questions about some of the methods that were used in the video, we do take the concerns that the video raises about fraud very.
For the record, this is precisely what I was saying was going to happen. Okay? When you introduce bad faith actors, biased propagandists that do not abide by any sort of journalistic standards whatsoever. And while, mainstream journalists and legacy publishers sometimes even drop the ball on that shit, random people are completely unaccountable. But there is an active investigation taking place into all these facilities. But instead of letting those active investigations take place, these guys are going over there and, filming children. This is not the appropriate way to go. And while people say, oh, Hasan, you're only doing this because you want to do ass covering because you love when Somali Americans do fraud, that's not the case. I want the investigators to do their jobs, okay? I do not give a shit about anything else. I do not want welfare fraud to take place. I do not want any sort of fraud to take place at all. I am a person who wants there to be strong social safety nets. Okay? The issue here is you are now obstructing active investigations. You are causing investigators to redirect their attention to random places that might not be under the lens of scrutiny, for example. You might think it's appropriate, but you're pulling away resources from an already exhausted group of investigators anyway, and you're harassing children and families while you're doing it. It's the worst possible thing you could do when there is an active court case taking place. I'm sure you have seen this from today, but The Hill is talking some HasanAbi shit. Remember, The Hill has right-wing reporters who will also lean into stories like this, so it's not surprising to me that they did that. Wow, Hasan Piker excuses Minnesota child care fraud. I did not. And if they were truthful and accurate in their reporting as a serious news outlet, they would know that. For example, and I will say this over and over again, EDP is a pedophile, right? EDP is we know that. EDP is also a free man, okay? EDP is still a free man despite being and trying to actually find children to rape. The reason why is because there was no real investigation. The reason why is because the only investigation that was conducted was YouTubers. This is the issue. Now imagine if there was already an active investigation taking place into EDP's pedophilia and a bunch of slop tubers came in and did up. Because that's kind of what's happening here. It's so stupid.
Confirm for us the $4 million figure. We've been hearing that a lot. Is that
don't know where that came from. I have no idea where that came from.
$4 million.
That's a completely false claim. We don't make that much with the amount of children we have.
How much money are you receiving money from the state, or how does the funding work here for you all?
Yeah, I don't think people understand.
This is an interview with Ibrahim Ali, the son of the owners of the Quality Learning or Learning Center here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He spoke at length about everything related to the daycare, the allegations, etc. Other than about 1 minute and 30 seconds, the entire video is uncut. I trimmed anything that was just filler stuff or questions that were being asked in the background as an effort to save time to be able to fit the entire video on TikTok.
As Minnesota, as Somalis, as people that own this business for 8 years now, we do nothing but to uplift the community, uplift our children, uplift one another, uplift non-Somalis, uplift Somalis, to make a better community for all of us. So if somebody comes in and says, hey, they're not doing it, it's just like if he would have came during operational hours and there's no one here, okay, you've got a point. He came, I think it was 11 a.m. Obviously, there's no cars in the parking lot. If you look around, there's cars now. Yeah, because our employees are here, our children are here, our clients are here. But don't come at 10 a.m. and they're like, hey, their door's not open. Obviously, our door's not going to be open at 10 a.m. We're not open 10 a.m. The sign on the door says that. Opening the daycare license is not easy whatsoever. I see a lot of people pointing fingers at DHS. DHS does a good job to the point that if you ask most daycare owners, Somali or not Somali, it's a really strenuous process.
Yeah, I brought this up as well. I mean, this part of the conversation is correct. Like, there are a lot of things that come out in licensing investigations, regardless of whether or not there is a Somali person operating the business or a white person operating the business, right? It's just how it is. He visited over a dozen daycare centers, and the one that they're latching onto is the leering. Of course, is that like, it's not like they fucking put the sign up themselves. Like, I mean, they put the sign up, but they commissioned a sign, and the sign was wrong because the person who made the sign made a wrong sign. They're making it seem like these guys are, you know, they're so stupid. They're so stupid. They didn't see that it said Leering Center. Yeah, there was a fucking typo in the sign. They kept it up, and I suspect that, you know, they wanted. It's the side door sign, for the record. It's not even the front door sign. The front door sign is correct. Then why post the sign? Why do you think they posted it? I assume, I have no way of confirming this, but I suspect the reason is because they already paid money for it and they're waiting for the new sign to come in.
You have to admit paperwork. You have to submit paperwork daily. You have to do a monthly. You have to do a yearly. They have to make sure kids are coming.
Like, a lot of this stuff stems from people just simply not knowing basic facts, right? And why should they? Why should you know the basic facts about, like, running a fucking childcare facility and the trials and tribulations that go into running a childcare facility? You just don't know. You don't fucking understand that stuff. So in a moment like this, what you're supposed to do is engage in critical thinking, okay? You're supposed to think, I wonder if it's commonplace for childcare facilities to have these sorts of issues. Like, I wonder if there's a licensing structure in childcare facilities. I suspect that this is something that is probably regulated heavily by the state, because no competent government is going to allow random adults to be around people's children without doing their due diligence, right? So what you're supposed to do is kind of expand on that initial suspicion that you have. And you're supposed to walk through these steps. You're supposed to go, okay, what is the primary government regulator that would look at these childcare facilities, especially if they're giving them money? But even if they're not giving them money, even if it's a totally private facility, right? There still has to be a licensing process. For Minneapolis, Minnesota, it's the Department of Human Services, right? What they're calling DHS for short. So you go to the DHS system and you look and you see if there are any sort of licensing issues, which we did do, right? We did that. We went through and we looked at all of the facilities that he went to, that Nick went to, and we found out that the Department of Human Services had actually gone to every single one of these facilities. Now, there is still some inconsistencies, of course. The major inconsistency now is that the state itself, a separate department within the state, said that this place was closed. Okay? Now they're saying the place is not closed. That's an inconsistency. You need to think critically now. You need to try to figure out if the other state, the spokesperson for Minneapolis, like, or the Minneapolis department, did they misspeak? Did they not know? Did they not do their due diligence? Okay. Was the place closed temporarily or permanently? These are questions that you are supposed to ask in this situation.
Have to make sure parents are busy with work or school per se. If the parents are not occupied, we don't get paid. So for example, you bring your children to me. While we're open, if you're at home, we don't get paid for those children. Those children can't come to us. We can decide as a daycare, hey, like, out of just to do a favor for the parent, we'll bring the parents. But those kids, we're not gonna get paid for it. The day their parents stop working or stop going to school, we don't get paid for it. So it's not like, hey, just enroll yourself in daycare. It's not that easy. The parents themselves, yearly, there's a redetermination form, how much they make, where they live, the house income, the size of the house. They have to fill all those out. What kind of income they make, both parents, how much they make. If they make over a certain threshold, the government does not pay for it. So it's not like the government is paying for people that have their pockets full. It's people that can't afford it and are working and are going to school. So the government and DHS make sure that person is not able to take care of their children. That's the only time they can bring it to our daycare or any daycare. If the parent is at home, we're not getting paid.
What do you say? What do you say to people who say this is like all for show? Like all the cars in the parking lot, the kids being dropped off now. It's only a response to that video.
We spoke about this earlier. You guys can come tomorrow. You guys can come on Thursday. You guys can come back Monday. If there's not this many cars, let me know. There'll be this many cars. There'll be children going in and out because that's what a daycare center is. There's employees. There's food that we have to serve them. We have to serve them lunch, 2 snacks, and dinner. For 60 plus kids, that bill is not small. That bill is not small. We pay the teachers, obviously. We have.
Oh, wait a minute. The license said there's 99 children, 99 max, 60 at any given moment before people fucking try to identify an inconsistency in the statements that he's making. The only thing that is actually weird about this, okay, from my perspective, is the fact that the state itself said that this place was closed. Did they say it was temporarily closed? Did they say it was closed at the time when they went over there? Or was it actually permanently closed and now it's open again? We do not know. That's the one area. And I'm sure that we will get more information later down the line. This is part of the reason why I always say, like, you shouldn't dive into breaking news and immediately make assumptions off of what you're hearing, because there can be some confusion, okay? But will people turn around and go, oh shit, we got this wrong, let's get back to the drawing board? Probably not, okay? Anyway, here, we'll finish this and then...
The teachers a good wage, standard, if not more. When they're with us for a certain time, we have to increase their pay. We have to make sure the toys are up to date. We have to make sure even the electronics they use inside the building is up to date. So it's not like the money comes and it's in our pockets.
The other thing that I find really, really damaging about this, the other thing that I find really scary about this is twofold. One, the fact that like this bottom of the barrel, like hysterical propaganda was so effective for many people on the internet, including educated adults that I previously thought were capable of critical thinking. That's number one. And then number two, this drove discourse, especially online, because it was base boosted by Elon Musk. Okay. So Twitter now and for the rest of time will always be able to drive discourse against, you know, certain minority groups or can manufacture hysteria. And that is very frustrating. It's very frustrating that like something as basic as a video such as this one is able to change mainstream discourse. And it's directly in the hands of one singular billionaire who is, as we know, a fucking white supremacist shithead too. Okay? What is this? Atriarch responded?
I'm going to start this.
Do I really have
video
to say this?
with an object permanence test? Just, I got to make sure. You guys see me here, right? I'm here. Am I gone to you? Am I back? Am I?
Where do you go?
I need to know that you can pass that before we can move on. Because I'm kind of blown away here. I feel like I'm a little shocked.
You should really... there's more idiots saying Atriarch than Elon in here, lol. Yeah, if you think Atriarch is responsible for this fucking propaganda flying all around... Everyone was talking about it the day following his drop, and I didn't know who the guy is. Came here to ask about it. Okay. Weak. He is riffing off your filter statement. Yeah, before I knew what Atriarch had said about this, about the initial video, okay? Before I knew what he said about the initial video, before I found that out, I said, I view this video as a filter, okay? Like the Nick Shirley video is a filter. It's a really good filter, and it's a really sad filter in many respects because, unfortunately, a lot of people actually watched it and were like, oh, this is a banger. This is a banger piece of real journalism. They're really driving discourse. It just sucks. It sucks to see because he is a very educated, very thoughtful, very smart guy. Okay? He is. But, unfortunately... in some respects, I think he got a little filtered, partially because stop saying he's not. Okay. I don't care. I don't care to fucking listen to your own personal perspective on this. Okay. He's not stopped playing nice. I don't care. I don't care about your takes on this. Okay. Yeah. He wasn't filtered. He said he did that on purpose because he wants to appeal to the racists as well. Okay, so I was right in my initial suspicion.
By this
okay, that actually is worse.
Discourse. And now you got me saying this. I got to do this. discourse on my first day back. I just had a really, really nice vacation with my family. I played board games and read books pretty much every day. And now I got to come back and do discourse. Okay, look, here's the deal. Let me give you the context, because we're talking about context a lot today. 2 days ago, I make a video about essentially government fraud in general and my thoughts on it. And I use this Nick Shirley video and the Somali Minnesota situation as the kickoff for that. I use it as the in. And I got 6 ass threads on my Reddit who I swear to God did not watch this video. That's because when I fucking read it, I don't understand. Were they watching the same video that I made? My mind is blown. And so I'm reminded of this thread I saw on Our Teachers. Listen, the kids can read every word that I'm putting in front of them, but if you ask them to say what it means, like what was the paragraph you just read? What was the takeaway?
I can't speak for other people's criticisms, but my criticism entirely was the fact that he said that this was good journalism. Okay. And I think the reason why he said that, I suspected at the time, was because he wanted to appeal to a lot of dumb guys who thought it was banger journalism. It wasn't good journalism at all. Okay. And it was very disappointing to see Atriok say that it was fucking good journalism. A did not say that. Yes, he did. He absolutely did. Okay. Now, the rest of the video might have been him actually talking about like fraud and broader fraud initiatives and, all this stuff. And I'm glad that, he is educating people on, all different kinds of fraud. This is something that I care about as well. And it's something that I talked about as well extensively. But let's see what he has to say.
He can't do it. It just, their mind blanks out. So I want to do 2 concepts of media literacy. I just want to break these down. The first one is context. Context is what happens before and after, the things around a word or phrase or section or visual to give it meaning, to inform it. Okay, the context matters. If I tell you nice shirt on its own, that might mean, oh, I really like your shirt. But if I say, fuck you, nice shirt, idiot, well, that's important context. The before and after really informs that particular phrase. And it helps you find takeaways. What is the overall takeaway of a piece? For example, if you just saw the clip of Walter White saying, I am the danger in this stupid hat, you might think, oh, the point of Breaking Bad is that cooking meth is cool and Walter White is great. That might be your takeaway. But if you watch the whole piece, you might realize that, oh, okay, the overall takeaway here is that Walter White is a monster, and this is a dangerous, terrible path to go down that's left him alone and broken. I want to go through, this maybe seem a little pedantic, but I want to go through like point by point what I'm trying to hit in this video from 2 days ago. And we're going to take a look at the context and the takeaway, because that's what I would like to be judged on. All right. So this particular section, this is the one that a lot of people were crashing out on, which, surprise, surprise, is in the first like 30 seconds. Surprise. And I show this clip from Nick Shirley. And the reason I show this is not because I am platforming Nick Shirley. It is because this video.
I didn't say he was platforming Nick Shirley. I said he was trying to take advantage of the pre-existing platform that Nick Shirley got off of, let's be real, racialized harassment of a minority that is in the crosshairs right now due to an ongoing investigation, a real one, into fraud that Nick Shirley, used as a jump-off point to go and harass a bunch of random fucking people that work in medical facilities of Somali descent in Minneapolis. No part of that was real journalism. As a matter of fact, there was plenty of instances where he actually had the opportunity, Nick Shirley did, to do real journalism and invite scrutiny or suspicion into the comings and goings of many of the healthcare facilities or childcare facilities he actually went to. But instead of doing that, he just chose to fucking slam a camera at the doors of all these places and demand to see the children, which of course is never going to work. That's not how anything works, right? Now, bringing any sort of positive assessment or any sort of like fucking positivity in the direction of this random dumb fuck who was at January 6th, who very clearly is doing propaganda for the Republican Party and not even doing a very good job at it, to be fair, and making it seem as though there was anything in that video in the 43 minutes that we watched that was actually bringing new information, new pieces of evidence, for example, that would be worthy of being branded as journalism is ridiculous. There was nothing there that was offering any sort of journalistic value. Okay? I'm not talking about Atrioc. I'm saying Nick Shirley did not do any journalism, let alone good journalism. Okay? Yeah, there was a private security ad in the video. There was an ad right after he talked about how the Minneapolis or the Minnesota flag is now a Somali flag. It was just fucking bullshit. It was racialized bullshit. It was complete fucking slopaganda. Okay? That's it.
Has been pushed by Elon Musk to 121 million people. That is like 40% of the entire Twitter user base.
He is right, though, about Atrioc is right about the whole, you're platforming arguments. I hate that shit. Stupid. You can't platform something that is being base boosted by the wealthiest billionaire on the fucking planet. And a lot of people immediately go, you're platforming. What is this? Yes, just make a video on charity fraud. Don't link it to Somalis. No, you can even actually talk about the Nick Shirley video. Of course you should talk about the Nick Shirley video. It's the #1 thing. If you want to fucking get an algorithmic boost from the Nick Shirley video, you can talk about the Nick Shirley video. Why wouldn't he talk about it? Of course, I talked about it too, right? The problem here isn't talking about the Nick Shirley video. The problem here is he knows better, or at least he should know better than to even make it seem as though this guy was doing anything positive, right? Beyond clout farming off of a pre-existing investigation that has been covered endlessly for the last fucking 2-3 years at this point. Okay? You literally are the Donald Trump of Twitch in all the worst ways. You slam your opinions down the viewers' throats, and if everyone slightly disagrees with your point of view, yes, dude, I'm exactly like the pedophile protecting multi-billionaire president who actually has a cryptocurrency fraud going that he launched the day before his inauguration, who is responsible for endless bombing campaigns. It's exactly like that. Just say I'm a cultist, dude. You don't have to literally try to do this thing where you're like, oh, you're just like MAGA. You slam your opinions down your viewers' throats. Is that Donald Trump's worst aspect for you? You think? The fact that he has, the fact that he slams his opinions down people's throats? That's the worst aspect of Donald Trump. You could use a much better analogy if you want to. You just want to say Donald Trump because you're fucking lazy, okay? And no, I don't slam my opinions down people's throats when they slightly disagree with me. I understand that there is nuance. And not only that, but my fucking audience yells at me all the goddamn time for having any sort of charitability or nuance, specifically in the case of Atrioc, for example. Everyone in my community was fucking yelling at me. If I was so audience captured, I'd be leaning into whatever the fuck they're saying. Am I audience captured, or am I actually fucking whipping my audience all the time? Make up your fucking minds, okay? Because more often than not, if you come in here, and this is a criticism that I think has validity, I'm yelling at my fucking audience because they're being uncharitable, okay? The fact that his audience would commit murder for him like yours is the worst. Brother, you are, I'm sorry to say this, but a little hysterical if you think that my audience would commit murder for me, okay? And you're still comparing Donald Trump to a Twitch streamer. Please, at some point you have to snap out of it, okay? It is your own parasocial investment that you have, whether hateful or in a loving manner, into content creators that has caused you to make analogies such as this one. If you're going to talk about like my cultish attitude or whatever the fuck you're suggesting, you can at the very least point to a real example, okay? This is nothing but a self-report. And not only that, but also, once again, especially in this instance, I'm actually yelling at my audience quite a bit for being ridiculous about Atrioc's initial commentary. So you're wrong. Am I audience captured, or am I constantly yelling at my audience? Which is it? Maybe it's both, okay? Maybe there's a lot of feedback that comes in, but now we've moved beyond it. Now I'm actually being derailed by one random dickhead. Your audience calls them the worst names they could think of. You wonder why people are so scared to start discourse with you. It's literally your way, or they'll throw you off the highway. Again, I have reasonable disagreements with people all the fucking time. Is there an attitude in this community that actually dictates that it's my way or the highway? Abso-fucking-lutely. Is there a broader attitude amongst the left? Is this a real problem on the online left? Abso-fucking-lutely. Is it something that I routinely yell about? If you were actually spending any time... Wait, what? Nope. No. Chatter. See, this is the problem. You've already decided that I'm a villain in your story. So you're not even hearing me. I'm agreeing with you. I'm actually agreeing with you, chatter. your initial assessment is correct. Okay? Yes, there is a my way or the highway attitude. Okay? And there is a my way or the highway attitude in this community as well. It's something that I yell about all the time. It's something that I try to stamp out all the time. You understand? And no, you didn't misclick. You just misheard. And you didn't even mishear. You're not listening. Okay? This is the issue. What is this? You're getting baited by the current LSF talking point. This is what they were saying about Extra Emily being afraid of her friend talking out against you. There was another clip of you on LSF for your chat going against Peach. You are getting baited, bro. Again, there were people in my chat that were getting frustrated yesterday at my friend, Peach, right? What did I do? I yelled at them and I told them not to do that. And then people clipped me literally yelling at my chat to not do that and said, see, he's doing it. It's not bait. Y'all are terrible. Keep yelling at them. Check logs, please. Does not mean brigading others online, though. Wait, what? Your way or the highway is so fucking stupid because anti-Piker attitude is racist, transphobic, pro-apartheid, pro-genocide. What are you saying, idiot chatter? I mean, there is that element too, but again, there's varying degrees of disagreement. Is someone disagreeing with me on whether or not Israel's committing a genocide? Well, that's an entirely different subject matter. Okay.
It's on TV news. It is everywhere. This is a massive video. I'm not platforming shit. I'm responding to this exogenous event as a way to bring a different narrative than what is being pushed with it.
He's clickbaiting into talking about fraud in general, mass fraud. This is an appropriate thing to do. I don't have any issues with that. And I think people that are saying he was platforming Nick Shirley are being silly. It's a childish criticism to have.
That is the point. So let's start with the before and after. Now, this is the beginning of this video.
I agree with him
so
on
for
this
before,
take, at least.
let's look at the context of my fucking channel. I got people in the comments being like, wow, are you pivoting MAGA? Are you just buying what Elon Musk says wholesale? Bro, I've got I'm in a cottage industry out of questioning what Elon Musk says. You think I take Elon Musk at face value?
Okay. He doesn't agree with Elon Musk. And he talks about how ICE is demonizing communities. He talks about Sam Hyde. Wait, what is this? I think he's trying to reach an audience that's more likely influenced by misinformation. A standard joke thumbnail makes them think it'll be more of an average video.
By the misinformation. You got to package things right to get people who actually need to hear it. I think this is a very powerful thumbnail. I mean, a powerful comment. I really appreciate what this guy said. It reminds.
That's what I said as well. That's what I thought as well. My criticism, and I don't even think Atriak is responding to me directly, but I think he's responding to his own fan base that was yelling at him he's not wrong. Your mod's banned for having opposing views. Brother, this is incredibly, incredibly vague, okay? For example, think about something that is near and dear to you, right? I don't know what your background is. You're just a random username to me on the internet. But think about anything. Think about something that you care about, right? Imagine you're a black chatter, okay? And someone comes in here when I talk about systemic racism, and their disagreement is actually that systemic racism doesn't exist and that black people actually deserve to be brutalized by the police, for example, right? That's not just a simple disagreement. That's someone upholding white supremacy. So in an effort to make sure that this is an educational space where there can be reasonable disagreement, yes, oftentimes we will ban certain people, but that's not just a simple disagreement, right? Of course, for the record, there is no other chat, no other community where you will get this much time and effort for being a contrarian naysayer in the chat. No other large content creator will ever take the time out to dignify you with a response. I do that. And a lot of people try and take advantage of that to try to derail the conversation, try to bait me, try to get mad, try to get me to be upset so they can clip it, they can post it, they can get mad about it, they can talk about how I'm both audience captured and also simultaneously incredibly mean to my audience for differences in opinion. I will, of course, continue doing what I've been doing and will continue to keep doing it, but just understand that, it's not a simple disagreement that we ban people over. And if there are instances where we ban someone or one of my moderators bans someone for simple disagreement, I usually will check it, as I did earlier today. For example, someone came in and was clearly trying to derail, trying to be annoying, trying to be a nuisance.
Me of a similar video I made where around the H1B stuff, this guy made a fucking Twitter video that went super viral. This also went viral. And I watched this video and I said, look, some parts of this video are funny. I can see why this would be appealing to someone, but it's like a cup of poison, okay? They give you a little bit of a taste of the good stuff, and then you fall into the cup of poison. It's like, that was my whole metaphor about how, you know, a few things that you agree with in something like this might be a way to put a much worse narrative on it. So this is a context that's important.
See, this is a great example of the rehabilitative method working. For the record, I never baited you for a clip, but I was extremely ungenerous. I'm working on it. It's not exactly productive. Enfant Door, time and time again, has come in here to say, I don't actually care about the needs of the black community, or maybe even have a lot of white supremacist attitudes. But time and time again, I have talked to Enfant Door and tried to describe my position. Look where we're at. W growth for the chatter. So for all the naysayers who say you should have banned Enfant Door the first time they fucking came in and chirped at you, guess what? I didn't do that. And it's now that person is being a little bit more understanding, recognizing that maybe they had a tendency to just immediately snap for reasonable disagreement that might happen. Okay.
Going in. This context is what allows me to make a thumbnail like the economy is saved with Donald Trump. Do you think that I literally mean?
Okay. Yeah. He's talking about the principle of clickbait here.
Okay.
And then he
so
says he was giving damning with
journalism
faint praise. Is that what it is?
I am damning with faint praise. Okay. I follow it immediately by calling the younger guy in the video a clout-obsessed Zoomer. I am merely saying that the fact they got all of the records of all of the spending by all these different organizations and the addresses, and found that many of them were listed on the same address, is worth giving an opening to, okay? Because we're getting 100 million people watching this video, many of whom are super angry at it. They're riled up. And I don't want to open by saying, dismissing it. I don't want to be dismissive. I don't want to throw it away. I want to say, listen, there's some stuff here worth talking about. Let's get into it. I want to open with a hand out to let people come in and see the narrative that I am trying to build over the next 20 minutes. That's what I'm trying to do. I think it is more effective. I think it's how you...
Yeah, that was my take on it, but I think I'm a little bit more critical. That is what I assumed he was doing, and did get mad at him for doing that, for the record. He was clickbaiting in an effort to come across as more reasonable to the dumb fuck centrists and the dumb fuck people that have actually leaned into the arguments being presented in the Nick Shirley video. And that is the reason why I popped off even before I heard his statement, when I was like, I can't stand motherfuckers who will literally, just because something is popular, will refuse to stand by their principles and will make it seem like there's something legitimate that this person was engaging in. I mean, this guy literally did racialized agitprop that may or may not play a role in actually undermining the existing investigations that have been taking place in fucking Minneapolis, Minnesota for like the last 3 years. Okay. I think clickbaiting in general is fine. I do it too. Or leaning into, leaning into viral moments and then trying to draw in the crowd and then explain to them your worldview is a good thing. Okay. But there is no reason to look at a video such as this and then be like, well, there's some good journalism here. He gave it a lot more praise than just damning with faint praise. That was my issue with his video. Okay. It's a Trojan horse, though. He's tricking them into listening to him. It's literally just a different method for what you do, changing people's minds. No, it's not a Trojan horse that works if you don't actually turn around and say, hey, this guy is a right-wing fucking propagandist. What are you doing? The main takeaway from watching a video like that is to go, this is the dumbest fucking thing that I've actually ever seen in my entire life. I can't believe so many people are actually fucking falling for this propaganda. It's so bottom of the barrel. That's it. Because his approach to it, I think he's
changed people's mind,
making it seem like he had a much more critical tone in the beginning or something, when that wasn't the case, right?
Or we need,
like this is where I
within the government and the Somali population. Here, this building alone.
Like, this guy can't even fucking speak, brother. Come on, he is like not even, Even when professional journalists are responding to this video, they at least bring up the fact that he's a conservative commentator. You know what I mean?
We've talked about the before. Okay, that's the before of this one comment that is like 6 fucking Reddit threads. I have a 20-minute video. All right, now
no, I didn't skip the part where he said it was good journalism again. He's saying that there was at least enough in this fucking ridiculous video to claim that it was journalism, because at least that the random guy, David Zimmer, the random conservative guy, David Zimmer, that works for like American Excellence Project or whatever, was bringing new information about how much money that these organizations had gotten. Okay, it just sucks. It sucks to see it. It sucks to see it, especially because Atriarch is smarter than this. His name isn't David Zimmer. That's the wrong person. No, it's like David Zimmerman or something. He's a former law enforcement guy, isn't he? No, we found the guy. Pretty sure. Or, I mean, there's a photo of him on a website that we looked at with his name being David Zimmer. Yeah, this is the guy. Is this a different guy? Wrong. Mark Zimmerman? What do you mean? Bruh, Mark Zimmerman. Wrong. Is this not the guy on the video? Am I experiencing fucking like face blindness for white people? This is literally the guy. It's just a younger photo of the same guy, no? Am I crazy? That is not the same person. Not him, fam. Am I being gaslit right now? Mark Zimmerman is Own a Pixel. Oh, that person is just making a joke. Okay, but like, am I doing anti-white racism right now? Not a good look, sweetie. I'm pretty sure this is the guy from the American Experiment. No, this is a different guy who gave a reported and he lives in a different state. We need the PSL guys to come in here and do a tibula analysis. Confirmed Hasan hates white guys. Okay, regardless. Random guy named David, who weirdly enough, they never actually fucking give additional background information on, comes in with the amount of, with like all the amounts that these different places have gotten in federal funds. Okay? Sure. Great. What does that do? There is nothing that you do beyond that. You don't go to people to say, hey, you don't go to the fucking government to ask. You don't go and ask anyone in the Department of Human Services, like, this place got $5 million. Why do they get $5 million? Like, none of that shit took place. There is no real journalism in this situation. Like, I explained it over and over again. There is a better way. There is a better way to cut right-wing propaganda here. You could just say, like, look at these scary Somalis that are, doing a horrible job taking care of your children with government funds. They could have done that. That would have been a more well, I don't want to say more effective propaganda, because obviously bottom of the barrel propaganda is more effective than even trying to bring evidence to the table now. But basically that would be at least like harder to disagree with. Yeah, the Ben Shabibo route.
Let's go to the after.
Anyway.
So after this, again, I never mentioned fucking Nick Shirley after this 2-minute mark at the beginning. Then I go into how the system of us focusing on just the goal and the bill signing allows opportunities for broader fraud in general to be ripe. Then I go into what actually happened with real journalistic sources in this Somali.
Wait, why are you making a distinction between real journalistic sources and this right-wing slop merchant then? I thought you said it was good journalism initially. Maybe I misunderstood, but it kind of felt like it wasn't just damning with faint praise.
Among the Somali community of Minnesota, dealing with millions, if not billions of dollars of taxpayer money funneled into things like luxury vacations.
So this is from a real investigation, right? This is from a real investigation.
Luxury
he starts off
cars
by talking about a real investigation that took
of
place, real evidence that came out of this investigation.
Cash sent overseas. Now, I want to give credit here. The person who really blew this story up on social media and YouTube is this young.
This person was not the person who blew that story up. Okay? This is a separate story. This is a totally separate story. So, wrong.
But we'll talk about, which is a so-called learning center in Minnesota that was billing the government to do learning for kids.
Here in Minnesota, massive fraud is taking place within the government and the Somali population. Here, this building alone, Quality Learning Center, is a daycare, yet they spelled learning wrong. And
I'm just frustrated because the problem isn't mentioning Nick, it's just how he talked about what Nick did. Exactly. And Cloud District Enjoyer is the one who initially actually sent me the Atriarch video for the record and said, oh, this is a really good video. And then I watched the beginning of the video and I was like, this is not a very good video because he just fucking glazes him for the first like 3 minutes.
Said leering. This daycare alone in 2025 has received $1.9 million from the government. And the strange things about these childcare centers is There's no one here right now. It's midday on a weekday. If you were to try to go inside, it's completely closed and the windows are all blacked out.
Not a great look. Not a great look. And in the video, he goes around with this. It's actually a pretty insane tag team of like a seemingly clout goblin Zoomer and like this old guy David here who's like got all the files and paperwork from 10 years of tracking this. And their combination is actually kind of beautiful. And they go around and investigate all these different buildings that are supposedly, you know, offering learning to kids or food or daycare or autism preparedness. And there's no kids, and they're all charging the government large amounts of money. So I respect a lot the work of this duo and what they did. There's a part
like we have. I mean, look, maybe I'm willing to say like, oh, you know, it's a misunderstanding or something like that. But like when you say stuff like that, you're leaning into it. You're hamming it up.
It's the video I don't like when they have AI generated Sora videos of black people throwing money in the air in luxury cars. I think it sends the wrong message. With the core journalism of actually,
like, that's the problem. Okay. He makes it seem like, oh, it was just a little two races with the AI videos, but otherwise it's good. That's not the takeaway from this video. Do you see what I mean? That's the problem. Because it wasn't any fucking core journalism. You're validating whatever main point was, and it's bullshit. You know? Because the core journalism was what? Going outside of random facilities and demanding to see the children with two guys in balaclavas and a camera crew, yelling at the people that were in and around these facilities, also to see the children, right? Which is already ridiculous. Going to a claiming that the Somali flag is actually the new flag of the state of Minnesota. Somehow, another fucking insane right-wing conspiracy that he put in there as well. And then refusing to do any real journalism to see whether or not these places were getting, you know, their licenses checked year over year. This is one of the most regulated industries in the country, okay?
Going to investigate
Asmongold is fact-checking you right now. I fucking love that. Where are the fact checks? Asmongold is fact-checking me. I have to see what that means. What is a fact check from Asmongold?
I don't really know. I know that, like, you know, Lebanon had like that thing happen, and so did Egypt, right? Where they had like a militia group. But yeah, they don't. They do not like them at all. Why? So basically, whenever they used to take, was it Jordan? I forgot which one. And I'm not, this is like, I'm talking about a generality, right? And like, this is just something I've observed.
I don't think he's fact checking me.
Like, because,
I don't think he has the capacity to fact check me, but I think he just wanted me to click on his stream, but it didn't work anyway. But yeah, going back to it.
I really enjoyed it. So listen, let's back up here. When it comes to government fraud, there's a general zoomed out pattern.
Yeah. The rest of this video is him basically actually giving good information, talking about fraud, how it works, all this stuff. My criticism with the video was just the initial like normalizing, the initial like leaning into the already viral racialized fucking slopaganda that this guy was crafting. Okay, bottom of the barrel slopaganda too. It's an overshare, but I think it's important. I learned in therapy that the ungenerous lens through which I view people was in part how I saw myself or the experience I went through. I wasn't healthy, and now I try to hope for the best when I don't have anything positive to contribute. Thanks, man. Okay. Hell yeah. And not only is this like straight up fucking racialized slopaganda, okay, with no new information whatsoever, but it's also very dangerous because now you got a bunch of other copycat right-wingers going around to random fucking kindergartens and daycares and shit that they're Googling around their neighborhood. Dumbass dog beater. Yeah. Don't blame that guy. I love guys like that. Like guys that don't really know, like that know that there's like a meta, but don't really fully know what the meta is. And just be like, I heard you're actually beating your dog. And yeah, now they have done two things. This video has done two things. One, shift the attention, especially on the internet, shift the major discourse in the direction of inviting extra scrutiny and maybe a little bit of racialized scrutiny, if I do say so myself, towards the Somali community in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the entirety of the Somali community in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It has also created a bunch of copycats where people search for kindergartens and daycares and childcare facilities in their neighborhoods to see if there's any of them that have like weird names, Muslim sounding names or anything like that, only to go and, do the same thing that Nick is doing. Okay. This is obviously unsustainable. This is obviously dangerous. This is crazy. Right. And I don't like that this video is not only doing all of these things, but also potentially interfering in an ongoing investigation to actual fraud. It fucking sucks. Okay. In any case, let's get back to the adults now. This is Atriarch being like, oh, I just like, basically the video is this second video that he did is talking about how he didn't actually mean it, and he was just trying to lean into the pre-existing meta, the already like very viral video by offering it a little bit of praise, but he actually is smarter than that, is what he's saying. Okay, it was disappointing regardless, but what are you going to do? I think you're being incredibly overly critical of someone who's politically aligned with you. No, I'm not. And that's the reason why I'm not saying he's racist or he's racist for literally looking at this racialized slop and not calling it out for what it is. As a matter of fact, a lot of other people are saying that, and I'm yelling at them for saying that. I was fairly generous in my assessment. If you think any sort of fucking criticism of any sort of I do media literacy. I do media criticism. He's doing media. Of course, I'm going to criticize it. Anyway, so this was one of the first things that they came out with.
All right. Well, the investigation of alleged
And now there's
massive
even more.
Medicaid fraud in
There's more additional investigations taking
Minnesota
place.
is taking a new turn based on a viral video. Homeland Security agents visited dozens of daycare centers and health clinics in Minneapolis on Monday after a well-known YouTube personality claimed more than 24 of these facilities were being used as fronts for fraud.
Don't we try to lure Asman fans? I mean, this is what I also always say about the Democratic Party. You don't try to lure people in here by compromising on your values, your first principles. You don't lure people in by being more racist or leaning into racialized propaganda. You find avenues where they agree with you. And then once the door of charitability is open, because they go, you know what? Maybe I was misinformed about this Hasan guy. He agrees with this thing that I fucking care about deeply. And he actually is making a very convincing case defending this thing that I care about deeply. Maybe I was actually wrong about him. Let me listen to all the other things he has to say too. That's how it fucking works. There's never been a moment where I've like tried to get Asmongold fans or lure Asmongold fans by being like, Asmongold is right. It is kind of base to fucking try and laser every immigrant. Why did I bother human trafficking when I should have just opened a Somali daycare? Oh God, fucking gross. Anyway.
Jonah Kaplan of CBS News Minnesota has been on the story from the start. He checked out the latest allegations and joins us now from Minneapolis. Jonah, good morning.
Kelly, good morning. Early childhood education, that is a program that's funded in part and supported by Medicaid. But according to federal prosecutors that I spoke with, it's really only vaguely atop their priority list when it comes to investigating fraud. Still, with this video getting so much traction online, attention is back on the state government, which is supposed to manage the money and regulate these critical facilities.
From Homeland Security investigations.
The Department of Homeland Security
Great Muslim throwing other Muslims under the bus. He's not a real Muslim. Come on.
30 sites around the Twin Cities, appearing to ask businesses about nearby child care, health care facilities, investigating what Secretary Kristi Noem called rampant fraud. The targets seem to come from this now viral video posted this weekend by YouTuber and MAGA supporter Nick Shirley, alleging 10 child care and more than 20 health centers in Minnesota are scam businesses fraudulently receiving millions in federal funds.
So this is quality.
Also, these guys should sue the fuck out of this guy. For the record, if a journalistic outlet literally went in and did this kind of video, they would get fucking sued into oblivion. Straight up. I know they probably don't have all the funds to do something like that, but the reality of the matter is the easiest it's the easiest lawsuit of all time. There's a reason why media companies actually operate with certain standards. Part of that is because they don't want to get fucking sued. You can literally have the city sue him.
Leering Center, I meant to say Quality Learning Center.
The video has been amplified by the White House and Elon Musk, but state officials push back on some of the claims. On Monday, the State Department that oversees child care centers said each facility shown had children at them during unannounced site visits in the past 6 months.
While we have questions about some of the methods that were used in the video, we do take the concerns that the video raises about fraud very seriously.
CBS News also...
Basically, in this day and age, anytime anybody gets enough virality for the record, everyone has to take it seriously, no matter how fucking stupid it is. I foresee this being very damaging to discourse. I think this is going to destroy discourse even further, especially at a time when we don't have any sort of, consensus reality. It's going to be even fucking dumber than this.
Viewed the daycares mentioned in the video. All but 2 have active licenses, and some were inspected as recently as 3 weeks ago. Many centers, like this one in South Minneapolis, were cited and fined for safety violations, but investigators found no evidence of fraud. Separate from the child care center investigation, more than 90 people have been charged over the past 3 years in an alleged scheme to defraud state programs intended to feed low-income kids, house the disabled, and provide services to autistic children. Federal prosecutors warn the total amount of fraud could reach $9 billion. Though state officials, including Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, challenged that estimate. Earlier this month, CBS News revealed exclusive details about the expensive trips, luxury vehicles, and high-class real estate that a group of convicted fraudsters bought with millions of taxpayer money. Governor Walz has also been steadfast in defending his administration's record and actions in terms of fighting the fraud. Those actions include state investigations and freezing of new licenses in 14 specific high-risk Medicaid-supported programs. Federal prosecutors also on those programs. Early childhood education is not one of them.
All right, well, Homeland Security officials are on the ground in Minnesota conducting a massive investigation into multiple fraud schemes happening in the city.
This comes as a group of Minnesota GOP lawmakers urging Governor Tim Walz to resign.
Madeline Rivera joins us live from Washington with the latest. Good morning, Maddie.
Good morning. Attorney General Pam Bondi says they've been looking into these allegations of fraud for months, and they expect more prosecutions will be coming. So far, she says 98 people have been charged, 85 of whom are of Somali descent. DHS officials posted footage on X yesterday showing federal agents on the ground in Minneapolis investigating suspected cases of fraud in daycare and healthcare centers. It comes after an independent reporter, Nick Shirley's video investigating federally funded child care centers in the Twin Cities went viral. Minnesota officials are pushing back, though, saying previous investigations into the locations referenced.
Bro, what is the investigation? This is not an investigation. I wish there was a leftist grifter that could go to Florida and confront empty charter schools built by DeSantis' wife and go viral that way. There are so many instances of fraud. I love fighting fire with fire, but if you think that this shit would bang in the same way, you're out of your fucking mind, because there is no Elon equivalent. There is no similar need by moneyed interest to try to really foment as much Islamophobic narratives as possible that ties back to immigration, that ties back to key issues that the Trump administration is choosing to quote unquote combat. This is a perfect shitstorm because there is the valid investigation that is taking place. Okay, but you're never going to have a situation where like the vice president is going to fucking retweet it. Elon Musk is going to base boost it on Twitter. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen at all. Also, Republicans in general do not give a fuck about fraud. We know that already. The rise of modern conspiratorial discourse is inversely proportional to diminishing critical thinking. Yes. Yes. The more, I mean, this is simply put, people are getting dumber, okay? And the dumber they get, the worse this kind of stuff gets. That's why I even brought up Project Veritas, right? Project Veritas puts more effort into their right-wing propaganda than Nick Shirley does, right? They at least like try to identify someone that works at a place They try to get him liquored up. They do deceptive editing, and they have hidden cameras and stuff like that. But that's still more work than just simply rolling up outside of facilities and demanding to see the children there.
And Shirley's videos did not uncover evidence of fraud. One childcare business that's now under the microscope is Quality Learning Center in Minneapolis, which misspelled learning on its sign. They say they're fixing the spelling.
A lot of the
Are you someone who thinks we've passed peak intelligence in society? What? In America, maybe. There are plenty of other places where people are still educating themselves and would not fucking fall victim to this level of bottom of the barrel propaganda.
Journalism that's been going on the last couple of days.
Project Veritas is a right-wing think tank funded by a lot of right-wing billionaires that loves these sorts of conspiracy theories and would do basically what Nick Shirley's doing and would go around, and whenever there's like some issue happening that Republicans want to cut propaganda on, or Republicans want to make want to raise the point of salience on, they would go and try to make YouTube videos with like hidden cameras and stuff like that. They would honeypot people. They would get them liquored up. They would overemphasize the importance of the person that they've identified as a person that works in whatever insert organization here. They've done it for DSA. It's funny how they're implying that the daycare center itself made the professional signage. I know that's so fucking stupid, but that's like not even something I like that, you know, I like that they make it seem as though they wrote it down. Yeah, Acorn is a great example of this, right? I agree with your criticism and overall takeaway from the Atrioc videos, but not watching the entire follow-up is kind of lame if you're going to continue the criticism. Brother, I understand the point he's making. I already said I understand what he was trying to do, which is to, you know, open the door and Trojan horse a bunch of people into listening to him rant about, listening to him educate them about fraud and how it works and how, what these guys are doing. Okay, I get it. I'm still stating that you can do that, and it's understandable to lean into the hyper viral video without actually saying it's good journalism, or without actually making it seem as though there was anything worthy of praise in that at all. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I think, I think it's bad. It's wrong. It's wrong to present yourself as agreeing with someone like fucking Nick Shirley when I don't think Atrioc, looking into it a little bit further, agrees with anything that person was saying at all.
Has been really dishonest. I don't want to point fingers at anybody, but I do feel like what was done was someone came to our building outside of operating hours. When there's a specific sign on our door that says our days and our hours, he came outside of those hours and then claimed, hey, they're closed and they're still making money. They're using taxpayer money to work. And it's like, you don't come outside of operational hours and then say they're using taxpayer money. That was completely false.
Regardless, state Republicans are slamming Governor Tim Walz, saying they've been sounding the alarm over fraud in Minnesota's child care space for years.
You always ask for charitability, but can't give it to anyone else? Wait, what? No, I am giving Atrioc charitability. I'm saying, can I disagree with someone while still being charitable? Is that allowed? I don't think he's an enemy. I don't think he's an op. I don't think he's a bad person. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. No, you think any sort of bare minimum criticism is automatically, it just means that like I hate him, I want to fucking fight him or something. I'm not saying that at all. I like him. I think he's a good person, okay? Jesus fucking Christ. Stop being fucking parasocial. I am being charitable. Can I literally disagree a little bit? Is that allowed or is that not allowed? You can disagree with me as well, for the record. Plenty of people in the chat are disagreeing with me because I say I am being charitable to Atrioc, ironically enough. It's all right, guys. You're never going to agree with me 100%. Please stop seeking it out.
They say for the good of the state, Governor Walz should step aside. Minnesota needs accountability, a reset, and new leadership that can get us back on the right track. It's not just Minnesota facing accusations of money mismanagement. California auditor says it recently found millions in wasted dollars in state agencies. Guys, back to you.
All right, Maddie. What type of daycare has the daycare open from 2 to 10? That makes absolutely...
Oh! This is my least favorite. Oh, I can't stand right-wingers, bro. This is literally dumbifying an already dumb audience. Oh, I don't understand why a childcare facility would be open at these hours, so it must be fraudulent. Like, if you want to say that there is at least, if you want to say, what are the conditions that these children are being placed in the care, being placed in the custody of other adults, look at all the fucking different times where they've had licensing issues. That's fine. But simply saying, I'm too stupid to understand why a child care facility be open from 2 to 10, as though there aren't parents that work in those fucking time. There is no concept of after school care, or that like parents don't fucking work until 10 p.m. and they need child care facilities that are open at that hour is fucking stupid. This is so frustrating. It's a classic way that right-wingers argue. I don't understand this thing, so there must be a grand conspiracy. They fucking love doing that. Right-wingers love doing that. Actually, stupid people love doing that. It just happens to be that right-wingers are usually the stupid people that I'm talking about. It's so fucking annoying, dude. What the fuck? Oh, why would it be open?
No sense.
I've not seen that.
And then there's some reports in the New York Post that all these places.
Maybe you're not seeing that because you guys all make like $400 grand a year and probably hire a fucking nanny to take care of your children, and you don't work late into the night. Okay? Maybe that's the reason why you can't comprehend why a childcare facility will be open at those hours. Fuck. Like, there are, again, valid criticisms against the Quality Learning Center. And no, it's not the fucking signage, okay? The valid criticisms against the Quality Learning Center should be still matched up against normal daycares. You have to have a control group, like a control daycare. What is the premier daycare that you can match against the the Quality Learning Center to see, does the premier daycare also go through similar licensing issues, okay? What are the big problems at the Quality Learning Center? All of this stuff is readily available. You guys are you have producers. How can you not just like look through it?
Have not had children there at all. And then suddenly when these reports come out.
Yeah, this is even dumber because this is at 7 p.m. It's 7 p.m. during this broadcast. I wonder why, if you had children and you weren't rich enough to hire a fucking nanny, I wonder what you would do with your children. It's 7 p.m. Where would you place your children if you didn't have enough money to hire a nanny? Oh my God.
The children have started to arrive. So somebody's hiding something here.
Well, the children were, what the report said, I think, is that the children were arriving. They had parents bringing the kids there for the optics of it. And then like an hour later, the kids left just so it looked like that there were kids showing up to these places. But Guy, I'm sorry, you're a dad. I'm not dropping my kid off at a learning center that spells learning, leering.
Yeah,
if you can't get it right on the signage, really, we're going to trust that? I don't think so.
But they have the word quality in there, Laura. It's a quality leering center. The quality leering center seems, I don't know, seems legit. Look, whether or not that specific place was engaged in fraud, and it does seem a little sketchy that all of a sudden they're like, oh, here's a bus full of kids for 1 hour, right? That seems odd to me if that's true. What we do know for a fact, and this has been reported not just by independent...
Ironically enough, this kind of commentary does require you to not have object permanence, okay? This kind of commentary requires you to not have object permanence. Oh, children there, children not there. This is weird. This is strange. Like, it's so fucking stupid, dude. Like, I guess the only way to figure out whether or not this is a real child care facility with actual clients, parents that are dropping off their children, is if you have a camera outside of it 24/7. And the moments that the camera's off is when you don't know. Maybe there's a, fuckery going on. Who knows? That's the only way that you can consume information. There is no need for figures of authority that you can lean into, investigations that they could potentially conduct. The only way to know if something is real is if you can see it in front of you at all points, okay? Oh.
Journalists, it's not just Republicans yelling about it. The New York Times had a big story talking about well over $1 billion in fraud in this state, and the U.S. attorney out there.
The New York Times, you say? Interesting. The New York Times, you say? So the New York Times was covering it. Because I thought for the past couple of days, you kept saying, no one's covering it. No one's covering it. No one in major media is covering this story. But now interesting. Once again, if you're devoid of object permanence, you obviously look at this and you forget that yesterday Fox News was claiming no one's covering it. Actually, they might have even said this in this news article. No one was covering it until this kid went out there and bravely reported on it.
They said the number could be much higher than that, closer to $9 billion.
$9 billion. And he said when he looked at the overall spend on Medicare and Medicaid in the state, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $18 billion. He says at least half, if not more, he believes is fraudulent. So you're right. It's around $9 billion just in Minnesota. But now we're hearing, as you just heard from Madeline, it could be California. This is probably not going to end, Lawrence, just in Minnesota.
Well, this is why the administration is surging in ICE, and they've already found criminal aliens that are there on the ground. We had the director of ICE, Todd Lyons, on later. This is what he had to say about these sanctuary city policies driving the fraud here.
What we're seeing is there's always a tide when it comes to sanctuary jurisdictions where you can hide in plain sight. You see a lot of these fraudsters use a lot of the sanctuary rules and sanctuary protections to, enacting criminal fraud just like this. We've been on the ground for so long looking into these states that fraud. And when Homeland Security Investigations goes into these businesses, there is criminal activity when it comes to labor trafficking, child trafficking.
Oh, yeah, that's the other side. That's the other side of this. Yeah, breaking. U.S. Justice Department announces 98 people have already been charged for fraud in Minnesota. 90 of these were under President Biden's DOJ. I'm not Mr. Team Sports at all, but that's the other part of the story that is incredibly frustrating. That this investigation started under Biden's Department of Justice. Okay? What the fuck? They're making it seem like Donald Trump personally went in there, found these criminals, and is arresting them. Things don't work the way that you think they do. Things don't work like this. Investigations take time. They take effort. They take money. You have to go and actually sometimes even surveil these locations, right? Not in the way that a random nuisance streamer is doing on YouTube, but actually do it. You have to build a case. You have to charge people. And then you go and you defend the argument. You go to a court. And you defend the information that you found. And you convince a jury, okay? And then after that, these people are convicted. And then they go to prison. This is a very long process. I can't believe I just have to explain the details of how this stuff works. It's basic shit. It sucks. Normally, in a civilized society, I don't need to explain this shit to anyone because they all understand it. There's a shared understanding of how some things work. Okay? But when there is no shared understanding of how certain things work, how investigations work under the Department of Justice, for example, and how long that process is and how the court system works, for example, you have to always go back to the fucking drawing board on every single issue. And then there are still people who go, la, 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 can't hear you. You seem biased, libtard, and then that's it. This is genuinely a major issue. Hold on. Are you upset? See, this is what I mean. Hold on. Are you upset that the fraud folks getting busted, but happy that Biden is the one who started it, but angry that Trump is the one continuing it? I'm so confused. Of course you're confused. You're fucking stupid. Everything confuses you. Where did I say I'm upset about the fraud folks getting busted? I never said that. I said it's good. I said it's a good thing. There has never been a moment where I've said it's a bad thing. Of course you're going to be fucking confused. And then he goes, big W, I got you to notice me. It's like, okay, dude, yeah, you were just pretending. I know you were pretending. You were simply pretending to be mentally deficient, and everyone is praising you for it. Also, it's additionally funny to say that Trump is busting these fucking, these fraudulent people when Donald Trump is notoriously pardoning people who have done fraud over and over again. Donald Trump himself is doing fraud. The fuck do you mean Donald Trump is busting fraud? He is the fraud enjoyer. And you might say, well, Biden has too. Biden's pardoning people too. Yeah, fuck Biden. The difference between you and I is I don't give a fuck about Joseph Robinette Brandon. I don't have a dog in that fight. I don't want to defend him if it's an indefensible thing. You're the one who wants to defend Donald Trump. Yes, this is one of the examples, one of the many examples. Pardoned by Trump after being convicted of 12 counts of bank fraud and tax evasion. Don't have to pay back $17.8 million in restitution or serve a 12-year sentence. But of course, that doesn't matter, right? And it's unironically a case where it's pure projection, okay? It's pure projection from Trumpies that turn around and go, oh, dude, you actually want Somalis to do fraud. No, I don't. I don't want anyone to do fraud. And I'm glad that the Department of Justice was actually investigating it. But I'm also mad at Trump for, dropping certain frauds when those people are close to him. Certain cases of fraud. $47 million fraud case dropped by Trump after Widerhorn made huge donations to his campaign and inaugural fund. Not Somali. DOJ dismisses case against the Trump donor after White House fired career prosecutor. Once again, this kind of hypocrisy does not fucking matter, right? It does not matter. There's another one. Yeah, breaking. This man ran a $1.2 billion nursing home fraud scheme and was pardoned by Trump. We talked about that too. That one's even funnier because I think he is a dual citizen and an immigrant of immigrant background. It makes absolutely no sense how people on the left argue over this stupid shit. You know what they're putting this out there for you to spend your precious time talking about is fucking stupid. If you know this, why do it? Great question. The reason why I do it is because I will fucking pull people off the stupid hill and I will fight no matter what, okay? Because I cannot live in a society where everyone is going down stupid hill. Everyone is just jumping off the stupid hill. We're at the hilltop. I'm going to fight back. I'm going to try to pull them off the hill to the best of my ability, okay? It's crazy. Way too late, brother. Yeah, it is, but I'll keep doing it no matter what. That's the other side of this story that is like really funny too. These people were so mad at me for saying if Republicans cared about Medicare fraud, they would arrest Rick Scott. Well, I said something different than arrest Rick Scott, but that's what I said. And they were so mad at me for saying that. Now, I'm not a pretender. I'm legit dumb. I just jumped in here. Now I have context. I care about people becoming dumber and dumber, okay? That's what I care about.
Federal COVID, that fraudsters set up these fake restaurants or sham businesses and health clinics that would provide things like meals to school children or behavioral health services or housing to people with addiction. And because during COVID, you didn't have the same checks and balances, you had social distancing, you couldn't have the site visits, you couldn't have the in-person inspections, well, the fraudsters got away with it all and provided the receipts and collected boatloads of cash from us, the taxpayers. More than 90 people have been charged in the schemes, mostly Somalis.
You said kill him because you hate America, you piece of shit, terrorist, glazing, dictator, cockriding, fat, self-obsessed slop streamer. FYI, you're as good. You are so good. That's why Zach has twice your numbers. Well, you can't help but be obsessed with him. Brother, I don't think I'm the one who's obsessed with him. I think you might be. I like that you also bring up a content creator by his first name, like you guys are besties. Me and my best friend. You're an adult, man. What are you doing? You're an adult. Do you not have any self-respect? That's so pathetic, brother. Please. That's sad.
And more than 60 people have been
I'm glad you finally noticed that the worst people from his community call him by his name. No, it's not even a bit. It's like unironic. These guys are like my best friend, Zach. Zachary, my beloved. He's killing you. He's got so many more views than you. Okay, great. He's always had more viewers than me. He's a larger content creator who's been around for a lot longer than I've been. You know? I don't understand why you care. You got 0 viewers. Like, do you think you're a part of the team?
Convicted. Now you have this viral video getting traction online. It's from influencer Nick Shirley, and he visited several daycares, Somali-owned daycares in the Twin Cities, and basically accused them of doing the same thing, running these sham operations where kids didn't show up, but still billed the federal government and collected millions of dollars in Medicaid funds. We visited those sites too, as did state inspectors many times over the last 6 months. And we found the facts on the ground tell a different story. Those daycares, many of them were written up for safety violations, things like maybe busted equipment or staff training issues, but that's not the same as being fraudulent. So it's important to put...
Wait! What? What? No! Now I feel like I'm watching you yesterday. Yeah, oh my God. Oh my God.
This into context. Granted, fraud is indisputably an issue in Minnesota, and next year it's going to turn up the heat continuously on state officials, including Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who's running for re-election. And there are 14 programs, Medicaid-funded programs, that are currently under investigation by state and federal government. But childcare is not one of them. Again, this is something we're going to keep following well into next year.
No way. This is new information for me, except no one gives a shit. That's the other point, okay? No one cares because this is boring, okay? He didn't go and like try to fucking uncover only the most Somali style fraud that could have ever existed. You know what I mean? Like he didn't do any of that shit. So it's not cool. It's not popping. Who gives a fuck, right? Bro didn't demand to see children. And now you got fucking dumbasses doing the same exact thing. Look, more investigative journalism in Columbus, Ohio. And yet again, Somalian owned daycares with no children.
It's a daycare center owned by Somalians and stuff like that.
Have you ever seen any kids in this place here?
No, not that I know of. I just seen it, the building itself. I've never seen nobody come out the building or go in the building.
Well, I'm convinced. Fraud.
You've never seen anybody over there?
No, not at all.
So right now we are in front of the Great Minds Learning Academy. This is one of the many daycare centers, learning centers here in Columbus, Ohio that are associated with the Somali.
Oh, damn. They found the Somalis in Ohio are doing the same thing.
Community. As you know, Nick Shirley put out a bombshell report about all these fraudulent daycare facilities in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So we wanted to come out to Columbus, Ohio and investigate what might be going on in the second largest Somali community in the United States of America. So this place here is the first place we're gonna knock, and we're gonna see if anybody picks up or answers the door.
You know what's really annoying? I think there's like there's an environment of suspicion around mainstream media. So I would go so far as say I have an easier time going through mainstream narratives and cutting across the noise when they do stuff like this as well. Because like the mainstream does, mainstream news and local news reporting engages in this kind of behavior as well, greatly overemphasizing crime, for example, and building on this like crime panic narrative. This was a huge deal. It warped the minds of so many fucking boomers, okay, including even people that I know and love and respect. And I had, I think, an easier time cutting through that propaganda to show facts about how this thing that people were actually greatly overemphasizing was not a real thing that was going on. Obviously, years later, the same mainstream resources and legacy publishers started covering stuff like, oh, why is there a big crime panic? People think there is crime happening everywhere, but where they actually live. Is this real? You know, we saw all those headlines like years later, right? But it was, in my opinion, much easier to disparage and go through and critically examine those hysterical narratives when the mainstream media was doing it, as opposed to like random independent content creators, because I think people automatically assume, unless content creators have been around for a very long time and have developed baggage as a consequence of being around for a very long time, because, you know, when you're around for a very long time, you got a lot of fucking haters and a lot of people who have like a checklist of things that they can fucking yell at you over. Sometimes it's made up. In my case, many of it is just like complete fucking insanity, but it doesn't matter. It still gets the job across in terms of attacking someone's credibility. And then there are valid reasons to like disagree with people. But unless someone already has that pre-existing baggage, right? It's much more difficult to just like tackle the argument from a substantive perspective, because people literally have a higher degree of relatability and a higher degree of trust for a random dickhead with a microphone than they do when that random dickhead with a microphone is actually working for a CBS local news affiliate. It is pretty crazy.
Let's see. So it's locked. We're ringing the doorbell here, knocking on the door.
Here's a virtual tour of this daycare.
Nobody's picking up. So we're not sure what the hell's going on here, but we're gonna get out of here. Now there's somebody over there.
We're not sure what the hell is going on here, dude. Why did they do this? Probably to let's be real. They probably did it because it's a big conspiracy. It's like a Somali style conspiracy. Look at all the, dude, they built this entire thing. They built this entire thing, put it on their website specifically so they could steal money, I think. Look at that. We didn't have to go to Columbus, Ohio. And even on the internet, we were able to find at least more evidence. We were able to see the inside of the fucking facility that he's talking about. But notice how there are no children. Why are they not showing us the children? I wonder why. Perhaps because that would be fucking illegal. Yeah, they're doing Somali-style AI on this, clearly.
How you doing, sir? I'm sure you see the reports over the weekend about all the daycare centers in Minnesota. We just wanted to see what was going on. Did you know anything about this place here?
It's a daycare center owned by Somalians and stuff like that.
Do you ever see any kids there?
No, because they use the back door, so I want to know if they use...
They use the back door?
Yeah, I never seen nobody come in here, but they use the back door.
But have you ever seen any kid? You live around here?
Yeah, on this building right here.
Oh, you're in this building?
Yeah.
You're in this building too? Hey, let me ask you, have you...
He's like, no, shut the fuck up. You already said that there's an alternative reason for why he might not have actually seen someone. Let me ask another person. Maybe he'll give me something better than that.
You ever seen any kids in this place here?
No, not that I know of. They use the back, so I've never seen nobody come out the front.
No, he's saying they're using the back door too. All the fuck!
You've never seen anybody over there?
No, not at all.
Yeah, oh, this is a good take. Imagine if Pablo Torre went to the Clippers front office and started screaming at some random secretary to call Steve Ballmer over to dispute the claim that he didn't acquire Kawhi Leonard's fraudulently. Everyone would laugh at Pablo. Yeah, also he'd get fucking sued into oblivion. And except even before that point, even before that happened, remember, Pablo Torre actually did investigation ahead of time because that's how investigations work. You have to identify contracts. You have to look at inconsistencies, and then you have to move off of the inconsistencies. You can't just assume, for example, that a team is actually engaging in like fraudulent behavior and then go outside of the front office and start yelling and then be like, well, if they're not giving me the answers that I'm demanding, then that must be literally have a sign of release. The law is called FERPA.
I just seen it, the building itself. I've never seen nobody come out the building or go in the building.
So we came to the back, just like those guys suggested, and...
Yeah, NPR on the Nick Shirley video, University of Minnesota media law professor Jane Kirtley says new viral video is flashy but absent of facts to back up its claims, and its lack of transparency could be considered deceptive. Yeah, I know, but you're not a fucking YouTuber that's trying to ham up clout to the best of your ability, so you're not going to lean into the fucking veracity, or you're not going to lean into the fucking... you're not going to tarnish the credibility of Nick Shirley, you know? What the fuck do you know? You're just a goddamn media law professor, right? Obviously biased. Let's keep yelling at the one fucking guy who is trying to bring some fucking common sense back to this conversation.
There's nothing here. You know, we can keep poking around, but there's so many of these centers to go to. We're just getting started. So we're gonna go around the city.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. What is this? Why is there nothing? Yeah. Why is there nothing on today's front page about a story that broke in 2022? Why? I know that like a lot of, you know the second thing that's going to come out of this, right? All the dumbasses
men
are going to fucking turn around and say, oh, these guys are such elitists. All of these hoity-toity media professionals with their college degrees are such elitists. They want to gatekeep the information, okay? No, they're making fun of you because you're fucking stupid. I need you to understand. Is there truth to the fact that mainstream media obviously wants to gatekeep and control flows of information? Certainly. But in this circumstance, they're making fun of you because you're a stupid person, okay? I'm sorry. It's just the truth. And it's, I think, important for this moment, if you've been duped by a video like this one, it's important for you to recognize that maybe you're not as smart as you thought you were, so you don't actually get duped again. A little bit of social stigma in this circumstance could be good for you. It could help you be a little bit more critical next time around, okay? You can't combine your stupid with I need you to understand. They don't work together. I don't want to be pessimistic, but regardless, if they infinitely throw culture shit to try to stick to the wall, as long as nothing improves, then people will fall back on how the economy is terrible, which means discontent towards the right wing. What is the goal of the right wing except fascism to reinforce capitalism? I mean, this kind of stuff clearly is working, though. It's clearly working. You understand? This is discourse for the last like 3 days now. Nobody's talking about the Epstein stuff. Nobody's talking about the economy. Everyone is going, oh, classic liberals, classic libtards, classic leftists. They just want fraud to happen as long as it's Somalis doing the fraud. All Somalis are criminals or should be treated like criminals and maybe even deported, denaturalized and deported if they have American citizens. It's the same thing that happened with the fucking Haitians are eating cats and dogs thing. And before someone says, well, there were no Haitians eating cats and dogs, but there were some Somalis that were arrested and prosecuted and convicted for crimes, okay? There was a black woman who actually was experiencing a mental health episode and was literally trying to eat her cat. And people literally pointed to that to say, see, Haitians are eating cats and dogs. Notice how that's an identical situation now all of a sudden? Not in Springfield, by the way, but it doesn't fucking matter. That's my point. They're not in fucking, the last guy we looked at is not in Minnesota anymore. He's in fucking Columbus, Ohio. He's in Columbus, Ohio. What's he looking at? Somali-owned daycares. Okay, but it's basically all that you've been covering as well. Would love to hear about the Epstein stuff and the other news. Yes, the reason why I'm covering this is because I don't think there are a lot of independent reporters or independent commentary people out there that are looking at this with the level of scrutiny that it requires. Everyone is eating Nick Shirley's dick right now, all up and down the internet, from liberals, centrists, all the way to fucking right-wingers who understandably we're going to do that regardless. And that's the reason why I have to combat it, because that's what I do. I combat misinformation. If there's a major fucking media narrative going around, if a major, if there's a major super viral story that is built on shaky ground, of course I have to fucking, talk about it and identify exactly why it's wrong and bad to do this. New Minnesota man absolutely loses his mind during Nick Shirley's investigation into the fraud. Accused him of wanting the Somali community in concentration camps. Shirley was seen keeping his cool as the man grew increasingly unhinged.
I want to ask you.
Yes, sir.
Why are you sensationalizing the propaganda?
What are we sensationalizing?
To attack our community. What's your final objective?
We're not attacking your community by any means.
Are you making good money from this?
We're looking for fraud.
No,
for instance, can you answer our question? Where's Safari Transportation Company 607?
1 second.
It's not there.
How much money are you? How much money are you making?
Dreamline Security.
How much money are you making
off of this?
I make
money off of YouTube. That's how I make my money.
Exactly. So you're making money off of sensationalizing.
That's my job.
And attacking the Somali community.
I'm not attacking you guys. We're asking.
I'll tell you the reason why this is happening. All right. Let me tell you the reason why you're attacking this.
Correct?
Yes.
This has nothing to do with race. This is fraud.
This is absolutely has to do with us being Muslim.
No, it does not.
All right, and us being from Africa. This is a constitutional argument. If you don't want us here, change the freedom of religion. Say, listen, you don't want Muslims in this country. No. Because when I go onto your comments, when I go onto your comments, what I see is people that say we do not want Muslims here. Kick every single Muslim in Minnesota out of Minnesota.
That's a comment.
You're preparing for the Somali community to maybe be taken to concentration camps, just like the Japanese community. All right, you're sensational.
I mean, the fact that people will look at this and act like this is hysterical is so silly, because that is precisely what the fucking Trump administration is already doing for other minority groups. All right, and that is what he has said and what Trump's fans are saying about the Somalis in not just Minneapolis, but seemingly wherever the fuck they are on U.S. soil. They're talking about denaturalizing the Somali Americans and shipping them out, saying that every single Somali is actually engaged in this, welfare fraud. That's not how any of this shit works.
No,
we're not.
All right, something that can that's something that can jeopardize.
Hassan, look at this with the lens that it requires rather than a 10-second take from a mainstream
if
source.
anything happens to the Somali community, listen, I'm not doing anything. I'm not physically touching you.
You're getting very close.
I'm not physically touching you. No, I'm not physically touching you.
This is fraud.
What you're doing, when I go into your comments,
you're defending fraud.
People,
with the exception of the defendants themselves, who who turned around and said like, oh, this is racism, you should stop investigating us. Of course they're gonna fucking say that. They're criminals. Okay, I have yet to hear from a single fucking Somali person in Minneapolis that has said, oh, don't arrest the fraudulent people. As a matter of fact, every single Somali person in Minneapolis is saying, of course you're going to fucking investigate and throw into prison the people that have been conducting this fucking widespread fraud. It's so stupid.
Who hate Muslims, want us out of here for being Muslim, are using your material. Islamophobes use your material. People who hate Islam use your material. Say to us, we don't want you here. Change the Constitution. But guess what? Let me tell you something. Guess what?
Say it. We're asking about
you
fraud.
know, what you do. You hate Muslims.
I'm not saying I hate
you hate Muslims. Why are you attacking us? Are we the only community that suffers because of fraud?
We're talking about
fraud. Are we the only community?
I'm going to move on from this. I'm going to move on from this by showing you the purpose here, the primary purpose of what this kind of propaganda serves, right? Stephen Miller, who is not a random person, as you guys know, very important figure in the Trump administration under Trump 1 and Trump 2. Stephen Miller says, what's interesting about Stephen Miller says, someone should write an alternative historical novel where Americans are the first to master the automobile, the first in flight, the first to harness the atom, the first to land on the moon, but just keep going and never open our borders to the entire third world for 60 years. Stephen Miller has talked about denaturalizing immigrants as well. James Surowiecki says, what's interesting about Miller's recent rants on immigration is that he's not talking about illegal immigration. He's attacking legal immigration from anywhere other than Europe and Japan. And, as in this tweet, saying the U.S. would have been much better off without it. That's obviously a very common position on right-wing Twitter, but it's unusual to see a high-placed White House effectively saying to Latino and South Asian immigrants, who are the vast majority of legal immigrants over the past 60 years, it'd be better if you'd never come. What Miller is implicitly calling for in that tweet is the repeal of the Hart-Celler Act of 1965, which reformed the U.S. immigration system and made it easier for people outside of Europe to migrate here. On the right, but oddly, not something Republicans of Congress have shown any interest in doing. That is their goal. Also, Matt Gaetz, former Trump Attorney General pick, had sex with underage girl while in Congress, White House ethics report says. And also, another Floridian, Florida school district cut ties in 2022 with Florida GOP candidate James Fishback over sexual misconduct allegations involving a minor. Fishback has called the allegations that he had inappropriate relationship with a female student who was a minor completely false. This is the yeah-based guy that Asmongold was championing the other day. Yeah-based. It's just weird how it keeps happening, you know? Fork found in the kitchen, but it is what it is. That's what we got to deal with. All right. You're just now telling me for the first time. What is this shit account? But this just happened?
It's just...
The Trump administration has officially frozen all child care payments for Minnesota following reports of major fraud. They've also launched a fraud reporting portal at childcare.gov. Tim Walz has received a demand letter from HHS ordering a full audit of potentially... Oh, my God. Great. This is the power of citizen journalism. Thank you. Thank you, Nick Shirley. You did it. You did it. Children will not be able to go to a child care facility now. Or the child care facilities that exist will be in an even worse state of disrepair because they can't get fucking federal funds. Awesome. Hell yeah. And before people say, why don't they, what, you love fraud? No, I don't. And there's a reason why the investigation was being conducted already into whether or not there was fraud going on without actually freezing all the fucking funds. The child care facilities. Now, children have to suffer. Not just Somali children either. White children will also suffer as well in Minneapolis. Great. Isn't the real investigation over? No, there's subsequent investigations that have been launched post the initial investigation. It's so crazy that, like, Twitter clout is enough to move the entire administration. If you can't understand how dangerous this is, how devastating this is, how much, if you cannot comprehend how awful this shit is and what it spells for America's future, I don't know what to tell you. We are fucking objectively cooked. Okay? We are done. This country is over. The American project is done. A bunch of hysterical weirdos can foment a narrative, cook up a narrative. What is this? This was the other part left out of the vid. Journalist Nick Shirley surrounded as he tries to find a company called Advanced Mobility.
Get the fuck out. He's recording. Get out of here. Fucking idiot.
I don't think Twitter clout moved the administration. They're cynically using it to enact more cruelty. I know. But it's enough. The Twitter clout is enough for people to go along with it without thinking about like how silly or dangerous this is.